We are merging two hobbies into one. Playing video games is completely separate from collecting them.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's something that even I need to be reminded of.
Angel Knot.
Salutations to the nations. What's good, Angel Knots? It's your boy, Young Sinai. Today, we are going to be watching a video by Bird Dog Gaming. It is titled The Issue with the Video Game Collecting Hobby. All right, let's go ahead and check it out.
First getting this one out. I have seen so many comments and discussions from the typical game collector who just has no idea what I'm thinking when I talk about collecting video games in my videos. Therefore, it is time for me to explain my thought process. This is the video I'm going to reference from here on out whenever I need someone to understand my rationale. There's a major issue going on with video game collecting as a hobby, and it's something that I've been talking about for years. We are merging two hobbies into one. Playing video games is completely separate from collecting them.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's something that even I need to be reminded of.
This is what we're here to talk about today. The other day I made a short form video about how Okami HD prices are going up because in my eyes the truly collectible version of the game should be either the PS2 copy because it's the original release or maybe the Wii copy because it's...
I don't remember. Have I seen this video before? Like on my private time? I don't remember. I don't think so, but I feel like I have not. I've only heard this game mentioned in a YouTube video, and I don't know if this was the video. If you've played this game, let me know in the comments and let me know if it's dope.
It's really the version that I feel is more synonymous with this game's legacy. But this particular comment from my Instagram reel has this dude essentially saying, "You're out of your mind, why would someone want to have the mid-2000s standard definition version of the game when they could just play it on a PS4 with beautiful remastered graphics and it's forwards compatible on PS5, making it so much more accessible." Now it's so obvious to this individual why someone would want to own the modern, easily accessible version over the PS2 version because he wants to play his games. But I know he's also a step above just being a typical gamer because he specifically comments that the physical is the way to go, never digital. Please understand me when I say that this video is not about this comment. It has not been spurred by it. It is just one of the hundreds of examples that I am constantly scrolling through on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. At the end of the day, this hobby is made up of this type of person, and I'm going to tell you why I think that is. I like to read comic books. I'd say that is incredibly uncommon in the year 2025. And I'm not a freaking hipster, but listen, I don't have a single friend in my life that reads comic books in the year 2025. But I'm willing to bet that you know at least
That music that he playing in the background, that dripping, it had me thinking that something was leaking in my house.
a couple of guys who collect comic books. Maybe you're that guy. I used to be that guy. In fact, I still have a couple hundred comics from my pre-video game collecting days. Now let me tell you a little more about my hobby of reading comic books. I'm not sitting around flipping through the few hundred amazing Spider-Man issues in my collection, reading them in a physical format. I subscribe to Marvel Unlimited, which is basically Netflix for Marvel Comics. You have tens of thousands of issues at your fingertips for one annual subscription fee, and here's the really interesting thing. A lot of times I will simply read comics on the app that I own physically. Why is that? Because I would prefer to open an app where I can see a beautifully scanned book on a device that is always glued to me rather than go to the other room, dig through my comic boxes to find the issue, and sit down with it in my lap flipping through the pages. First of all, if it happens to be a $200 comic, why on earth would I want to risk taking it out of the box, taking it out of its protective case, and potentially ripping the pages while I'm reading it? Why would I do that? And then there's the comfort factor. It's just not going to be enjoyable. I'm going to be concerned about damaging it, so I'm not even going to be laying in bed or reclined on the couch. So now this relaxing evening turns into me sitting straight up 90 degrees with a lamp at my desk. I feel like I'm losing some of y'all, so let me drive the point home. Not a single person on planet Earth that has purchased an Incredible Hulk 181 in the last 30 years purchased it primarily as a comic book to...
I have that picture in my office. I have that same picture. My wife got that for me as a 6-month anniversary gift for when we were dating. My wife is awesome. All right, but I have that. You don't believe me? They don't believe me. I told y'all. Man. Y'all thought I was capping.
read. And that is a fact. This is the first appearance of Wolverine and released in 1974, and whether you purchased it in 1995 or 2025, you bought this item first and foremost as a collectible for your collection. That was your intent. Now notice I said the words primarily and first and foremost and intent. This is essential to the point I'm trying to make here, especially the word intent. Am I saying that no one who purchased Hulk 181 in the last 30 years has read it? Am I saying every single collector who picked this up just threw it in a box or mounted it on the wall and never intends to read it? No, I'm not saying that, though more than 75% of these people probably have no intention of ever opening that physical book and reading through it. This book is valuable in every condition. It's a key issue that is important to pop culture history, and most importantly, collectors want to retain the condition they purchased an item in. What I am saying is this book was purchased with the full intent of adding to a collection, and if 25% of the people who own this also happen to read the physical book, it was not their primary intention. In fact, many of them read the book prior to owning it physically. Most individuals who wanted to read this book in the last 30 years either read it online, on an app, on an illegal website, or got a re-release of it and read it that way. Yeah, that's right, just like Okami HD on the PS4. Comic publishers love to re-release iconic issues of their books because it makes the item more accessible to people who don't have hundreds of dollars to blow on a first print. A comic book collector is the person who bought the Hulk 181 with the full intent of adding it to his collection, and maybe someday he happens to sit down at a desk with gloves on and read it. A comic book reader is the guy who purchased a Hulk 181 with the intention of reading it. Both of these people might have collections.
So I believe what he's getting at is a video game collector is someone who buys a game, might buy a new Earthbound copy and not open it, or a new Chrono Trigger and not open it just because you care about the value, but might instead maybe play the ROM where they're able to play the game without destroying the game that they bought, or not destroying, but devaluing it.
Of comic books.
I'm not saying I agree with his definition of collector, but I think that that's what he's getting at.
Both of these people might read this book. However, the intention is what sets them apart here. And I know some of y'all are already typing up comments to yell at me right now, but I need you to just take a deep breath. I want to clarify real quick that I am not gatekeeping. I am not gatekeeping, and also I am not gatekeeping. I truly don't care what you do with your games. I don't care if you collect loose cartridges, and I don't care if you're a sealed or graded games collector. I just need the definitions to be clear. Now, Okami on Wii and PS2 is dirt common and dirt cheap. I mean, it's like $15 and $25 respectively.
I don't know if I fully understand the point of what he's saying. I'm gonna hold my thoughts to the end.
But the majority of this hobby believes it is made up of people who are collectors, going as far as to name their subreddit r/game collecting and their Facebook groups video game collectors. But how many of them are purchasing the Okami on PS2 as a collectible versus the people who are going to purchase the Okami HD because it's the better version? The instant you start talking to me about graphics, performance, accessibility, or anything else that has to do with the playability of a game, you have stopped talking about the collectability. You aren't talking about a video game collecting topic anymore. You're talking about a video game playing topic. If someone says, yeah, I just bought that Hulk 181 comic, you'd be like, holy crap, that's an awesome piece that hasn't been printed in 50 years. It's so historically important. What an incredible item for your shelf. And then all of a sudden they respond like, wait, what? This came out in 2019 and cost me $5. I wanted to read it because I've never read it before. And then you realize that this person did not purchase this item as a collectible. They purchased it for its original intent, which is fine. I cannot stress this enough. I know someone is still going to comment like, wow, so you're saying games aren't meant to be played? Please play your games, I don't care, but when you purchase a $22 remaster of a 20-year-old game because you really want to play it, you are not collecting that specific item. You are purchasing an item for its original intent. There's so many people on Reddit like, here's my collection of...
I know he says that he's not gatekeeping. And he probably truly feels that way in his heart of hearts, right? But I mean, it's a little gatekeepy. You feel me? Like, all right, check it out. I think that you can collect games and play them and still be considered a collector. I think it's just levels to things. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, if somebody collects sports cars, does that mean that they don't drive any of the cars that they get? I mean, that's like collecting on a whole different stratosphere of my budget, so I don't really know about that life. Maybe they don't drive it. Maybe that's a bad example. Let's see. Let me think. Collecting. Okay. My dad, when he was alive, rest in peace, he collected movies, right? He had an enormous collection. Like how this dude's video game collection looked, that low key is how my dad's collection looked. But he watched the movies, right? So is it not a collection? Like, I look at it as building a personal library of what you think is dope, right? So is your collection considered a library or is it considered a museum? Okay, because I feel like he's saying that it's not collecting unless it's a museum. Like it's something that's just to look at, to pick up, turn around, look at, put back on the shelf. It's not collecting if it's a library where you take it out, use it, enjoy it, maybe even lend it. Make sure you get it back. Don't lend your games, okay? I don't know. Do what you want to do. But I would be really, he said he wants to be, he's not trying to be gatekeeping. He just want to be clear on terms. So let's be clear on terms, right? Let's see, what does the Google consider collection? All right. Google defines it as the act or process of collecting someone or something. Someone. Whoa. Whoa. Collecting someone. What the heck is this? Slaves? Slave collecting? What the heck kind of crap is that? All right, we're going to ignore the first definition. That's crazy. That's wild work. A group of things or people. Okay, let me say define collect. To bring together things, typically when scattered widespread. So if you go out that first definition, if you're bringing together things that are typically widespread, like you're getting stuff from eBay, you're getting stuff from GameStop, you're getting stuff from mom and pop shops, you're buying stuff from friends and family, you're getting stuff from garage sales, you're bringing all of these things that were scattered and widespread and you're bringing them together. I think that is just levels to collecting. You know what I mean? And I think that boils down to, do you want to be a museum or do you want to be a library? I think that pretty much sums it up. Let's go back to let's hear him flesh out his thought though.
Switch games, and it's just a bunch of pictures of the games they bought to play. And it's like, yes, the definition of collection is literally a group of things. So you're right, you do have a collection of Switch games, but there are also millions of people who own a collection of Switch games that aren't video game collectors. They just purchase video games physically because they like playing video games and they prefer to buy them at a real life store rather than digitally. If we just started calling everything we buy for its original intent a collection, we would be insane. I just bought trash bags for the kitchen the other day. I have a collection of trash bags, so I'm a trash bag collector. I just got a pack.
No, because you dispose of those trash bags. Now, if you bought trash bags at all different stores and held on to them, then yeah, you would be a legit trash bag collector. But if you're using it and getting rid of it, you're using it for its intended purpose, I understand, but then it's no longer in your possession, you're not a collector.
Of number 2 pencils, and I can't wait to go on r/pencil collecting and show off my collection tonight. No, that is not how it works. You can be a collector if you want to. For the love of God, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. You're welcome to call yourself whatever the heck you want, but I don't believe every person who purchases video games is a collector. Even if you're buying childhood favorites to play again, and even if those childhood favorites cost you hundreds of dollars each, and even if you're placing those childhood favorites on a nice clean shelf, I don't think that makes you a collector. I literally have a coworker who is buying every Pokemon game right now, playing them and completing all of the Pokédexes, and he will be the first to tell you he is not a video game collector.
He collecting Pokemon. You filling up Pokédexes, you collecting Pokemon.
He is just buying old software that isn't sold in stores anymore.
I think that this is gatekeeping. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I mean, let me know in the comments. Am I tripping? I understand what he's saying. It's different levels. It's different levels if someone wants to keep a game in mint condition and not use it. And it's a different level if you want to play the game. Man, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Despite the fact that he is spending thousands of dollars to acquire...
I'm going to ask ChatGPT what's something that people collect but actually use, because I can't think of an example right now, because I'm just thinking about like baseball cards and stuff, and like obviously people don't use baseball cards.
These items, it doesn't make him a collector. Alright, that was a lot. Everyone take a breather. Don't dislike the video. Don't unsubscribe. Just take a deep breath. I think the majority of people are double dipping. People are saying Okami HD is a game I want for my collection, but I also want to play it, so maybe I'll just buy the remaster and kill two birds with one stone. Because why would a person buy Okami on PS2 for $25 when they could just buy...
Okay, boom. Okay, so these are some of the examples that ChatGPT gave. It said knives and multi-tools, right? I collect knives. When I do my unboxings, those are some of the knives I collect. They're really cheap knives. Maybe I'm not a collector. Mechanical keyboards. Enthusiasts collect different switches, keycaps, and boards. Sneakers, right? Some folks collect rare kicks, but plenty wear their Jordans, Yeezys, or Dunks in rotation. Watches. I think watches is a really good example. Vinyl records. That's a good example. I'm trying to skip the whack ones. Board games. People collect board games, even rare editions, but sometimes play them. Mugs. Yeah, I collect superhero coffee mugs. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just disagree with that. I know he's saying that he's not trying to gatekeep, but it is a little, what's the word? Pretentious to say it's not a real collection because you actually use your stuff. I feel like that's low key being a good steward and not wasting your money. You know what I'm saying? Like actually utilizing what you spent your hard earned money on. Not that there's anything wrong with it just being on the shelf. I'm not trying to be pretentious about that. It's just, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Am I tripping? Maybe I'm tripping, yo.
Buy the objectively superior version on their modern platform that's already hooked up. In case it's still not clear, Okami HD is the 2019 version of Hulk 181, and Okami on PS2 is the 1974 version of Hulk 181. Okami HD is not the original thing. Okami on Wii is technically not even the original thing, and when you aren't focused on playing your games and getting the best experience, you want the earliest, most original version of the game. A lot of you still won't understand this because the vast majority of you don't care if you have a Made in Japan or Made in Mexico box. You don't care if your Mario Brothers has a circle seal or an oval seal, and that's fine, it really is. I have plenty of later print versions in my collection. I am not here to gatekeep and tell you that your later print games are bad, but the most collectible version will always be the earlier print and the original version.
Okay, the most collectible version. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. Okay, it might not be a collectible, so it might not have much value if you were to resell it. However, that does not mean that you cannot collect it.
I don't make the rules. This is just simply how collectibles work. Look at Pokemon cards. The first edition Shadowless is what people want. A few years ago, there were modern Pokemon cards that started coming out that looked nearly identical to the original base set, but they're worthless because everyone wants the actual thing, not a clone. The 2019 Hulk 181 re-release is not only a fraction of the price of the original collectible item, but it's also probably printed on way nicer paper and the colors absolutely pop.
Yo, I just had ChatGPT. I just told ChatGPT I'm watching a video and the guy is saying it's not video game collection unless you don't use it. I said, tell my YouTube audience your thoughts on that. So this is what it said.
Got it. Here's a punchy take you can say directly to your audience.
Nah,
So I just heard
I ain't saying it to the audience. You saying it to audience. Olivia, that's my ChatGPT's name. I'm just joking. I made that up just now. All right, let's hear what ChatGPT got to say about this. Hold up.
So I just heard someone say, it's not a real video game collection unless you don't use it. And I gotta be honest, that sounds like gatekeeping in a glass case. Look, if you collect games and you play them, that doesn't make your collection any less valid. In fact, I think that makes it more real. You're not just hoarding plastic and cardboard, you're interacting with the history, the art, and the nostalgia. It's like buying a classic car and actually driving it.
Hey, that was an
Popcorn,
example.
You
I
so
might get a
gave.
you will-
scratch, but that's part of the story. Same with gaming. A shelf full of sealed games is cool, but firing up a cartridge and reliving your childhood, that's powerful. So whether you keep them sealed or beat up and well-loved, if it brings you joy, it counts. Don't let anyone tell you how to be a collector. Want me to add humor, make it more aggressive, or dial it into your exact channel vibe?
I don't want you to do any of that. I just want you to tell me your thoughts. ChatGPT always trying to suggest something at the end. I'll be like, let me know what's your thoughts on this. And she'll be like, okay, so I don't think that that's being a real collector, or I think that's being a real collector. Do you want me to teach you how to make video games, a recipe of cake so that you can serve to your kids? Like, what, dude? What are you talking about? All right. I'm going to try to let this dude finish cooking, but we're going to see where I end it because I'm definitely not agreeing. You know what I'm saying? Which I don't have to agree with what I watched, but I mean, I kind of said my point already. I don't know if there's much more I can add to the conversation. So I'm trying to see if there's anything that he says where I'm like, oh, okay, where I can add some type of dialogue and be respectful to your time as well as my time. I like what he said as far as it's something not being considered a collectible as far as reselling. I understand that to the fullest. But let's keep on going.
Objectively have a better reading experience than on the original release of this comic, which is the same as saying Okami HD is going to look and feel better than the PS2 original. But it doesn't matter. It's not about the quality of the gameplay. It's not about the accessibility or how many frames per second you're getting. It's about owning the original item. The PS2 version of Okami is the game that started it all for this particular franchise. It's the game that is objectively more important and collectible than the PS4 game that is still being printed and can be bought brand new from Video Games Plus Canada as we speak. In other words, the PS4 copy is great for players, not for collectors. Comic books are much older than video games and have matured as a collectible. They are decades in the making, and video games are still this form of media that people believe are meant to be used for their original intent. And to maybe drive this point home even further, maybe I should share that I am someone who plays my games. I literally played through Okami in 2020.
Okay. Why did you wait till 11 minutes in to say that?
24 on the Wii with a CRT, but the primary reason I bought and held on to that game for the last decade was because it was a collectible for my video game collection. Being able to play it is more of a bonus. Now someone could go on eBay right now.
I'm confused. I ain't gonna hold you. So is he saying he plays all his games, or is he saying he just happens to play just that game? Let me know in the comments. I'm sorry. I'm getting kind of lost.
And buy that game for
It's not him though, it's me.
$15 shipped with the complete intention of playing that game. They don't even have to be a collector. Maybe they have a Wii sitting in their bedroom hooked up and ready to go, and this is just something they want to play. Does that make them a collector? Because he purchased an old piece of out-of-print media in the year 2025? No, it doesn't. So what if this person decides they want to become a video game collector? Does Okami not count towards their collection because their original intent was to play the game? Are you saying that individual has to go repurchase the game with the correct intention? Obviously that's not what I'm saying, so if you're typing that comment up right now, you can just stop. Look, the situation I just described is how we all started collecting. None of us woke up one day and said, I want a room full of ancient dusty cartridges. No, we started out saying, wow, I want to play that old game I missed out on back in 2006 and I still have my old Wii. Maybe I'll just buy it and play it. So maybe you're sitting here listening to this video thinking that you're maybe a perfect 50-50. You're thinking maybe your intent is completely divided down the middle, with 50% of your reason being you want to play the game and 50% being you want to own the game. So answer this for yourself. Do you purchase games that you never intend to play? Do you have games on your shelf that you literally only purchase because you know it's a rare or cool piece for your collection?
No. And I know he's going to say, well, then you're not a collector. Well, I think that's what he's going to say.
Thing about this is you don't have to be one or the other with every game in your collection, and this is especially true for your modern stuff that you're picking up every month. You purchased that Mario Odyssey in 2017 because you wanted to play it straight up, but you might have also picked up a copy of Superman 64 that year with absolutely no intention of ever playing it. One of these items was purchased as a collectible that will literally never be played, but even if you did play Superman 64 one day, it wouldn't erase your collector status. It just means that you're getting some bonus use out of your collectibles. Comics are way more fragile than games. I mean, if you pop Superman 64 into your N64, the worst that could happen is maybe you drop the cartridge on the way to putting it into the console. And let me tell you, those cartridges could just about survive a bomb, they're so freaking sturdy. Therefore, comics and video games aren't a perfect analogy. But on another note, I just don't understand why no one is getting mad about comic book collectors who just purchase a copy of Hulk 181 and keep it closed for eternity. Why is that any different from someone picking up a sealed copy of Okami on PS2 and never opening it? Or better yet, why is that any different than getting a shadowless Charizard and keeping it sealed in its PSA slab for eternity? Honestly, that's a whole tangent conversation we could have, but if you take nothing else from this video, at least take this. If you're going to be mad at one hobby for keeping games sealed, you have to be mad at coin collectors for not spending their money.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just saying just because you use it doesn't mean you're not a collector. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what he touched on at the end. I think he kind of cleaned it up a bit, but I don't know. But yeah, if you want to see the rest of the video, you can go check it out at his channel. I do appreciate the conversation, and I definitely like seeing other people's perspectives regarding things. Look, it really boils down to how do you feel about it yourself? Like, forget whatever somebody else says about you, forget what he says about you, what I say about you. If you think you're a collector, you a collector. If you got 3 or something, shoot, that's your collection. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how I feel about it. I appreciate you guys watching. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. I am on my journey to hit my first 1,000 subs. I'm trying to get monetized. In order to get monetized on YouTube, you gotta get 4,000 watch hours within 365-day period, and you got to get 1,000 subs. You feel me? So if you rock with me, please don't just watch the videos. Please make sure that you subscribe. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Also, if you sub, I am having a competition to win my old Trim UI brick. You can see the details for that in the post tab for the community. And yeah, God bless and salutations to the nations. Peace.
Angel not.